Hello, our friends from across the state of Arkansas. Thank you for joining us, the Arkansas Boys State staff, as we go into some conversations around registration and what the program is all about. I'm excited to be with you. Before we begin, we want to introduce some of the folks who may be in the call. You're going to get a chance to hear some of these people throughout our presentation, but I want to call out just a few of them who are with us, who've taken their time out of their workday to join in this call. Again, I am Lloyd Jackson. I am the executive director of the Arkansas American Legion Boys State program. We also have on this particular call our director of engagement, Mr. Caleb Turner, our office manager, Mr. Tom Hamaker, our director of operations, Mr. Craig Depew. We also have our director of staff, Mr. Andrew Brodsky, and we have the assistant director of operations, Devontae Johnson, on the call. And I think I hit everybody who's with us as staff-wise with us. And so, again, thank you for joining us. And we want to jump right into what can you expect from today's conversation. We're going to talk about what is Arkansas Boys State. And that's always a question, and it's hard for us at times to really put into words. We want to do our best today to help you understand what Arkansas Boys State is and why we're so passionate. And we sum up the sum total of the folks I just called out and the years of experience that they have with the program. We're well over 100 years of experience. And then these young men and these men come back year after year because they have a love and affinity for this program. And what we'll share with you today is that once your young men leave us after a week with us, they will again have this same love for this awesome experience they get a chance to have. And so the other thing I'm going to ask you or really share with you is why send students to Arkansas Boys State? And you're going to hear this over and over again throughout our time today, that this is certainly a week that shapes a lifetime. And again, I am year number 25 with the program, and it's been nothing but a life-changing experience from 1997 till now. And then the next thing you need to know, number 3 item there is what's coming in this Arkansas Boys State 2023. I would kind of give you an overview of our agenda and the process for registration, which is item number 4. So how do I register? And we've done our best to simplify that process over the last few years. And so we hope that you'll get a chance to see some of those improvements. As you go along, you're going to have some questions. We know you're going to have some questions. So drop those questions in the chat. We are collecting, you heard all the staff members are on this call. We are collectively collecting all of those questions to give you those answers at the end. And we're going to answer those out loud as much as we can so that those who may be viewing this recording, and we are recording as you heard when you came into the call, so that those who are viewing this recording can also have those answers and you have those answers to come back and review if you need to. So without further ado, I am going to push this forward over to our Director of Engagement, Mr. Caleb Turner.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Lloyd, for that great introduction. As Lloyd mentioned, my name is Caleb Turner. I'm the Director of Engagement for Arkansas Boys State. I attended Arkansas Boys State as a delegate from Hangburn High School in White County in 2014. Lost my very first race that I ran at Arkansas Boys State, which was the nomination to run for school board for my party, but ended up being elected a state senator to Arkansas Boys State in 2014 and have served on the Arkansas Boys State staff since then. So I'm going to share a bit with all of you today about what is Arkansas Boys State, give you some background, some history, and a look at a little bit of our curriculum and our delegate experience while they're at our summer program at the University of Central Arkansas. We are excited this summer to welcome our 82nd session of American Legion Arkansas Boys State. The program began in 1940. Just a few times we've missed a summer program, once for World War II and another time for summer of 2020 during COVID-19. Came back in 2021 virtual, last year in person again, and excited to be in person at UCA again this summer, but have been around for quite a while in Arkansas and building our legacy as a premier leadership program. You can see that photo there in the bottom right-hand corner is actually from this past summer on the stage in Ida Waldron Auditorium at UCA. That was our model county. That was the Commanders County last year after they won their Model County Award. So lots of great stories and lots of legacy experiences that are involved in Arkansas Boys State. You've heard us mention that Arkansas Boys State is sponsored by the American Legion. The American Legion is a veteran service organization nationwide with about 3 million members. All but one state has a Boys State program sponsored by the American Legion. You might be familiar also with American Legion Little League Baseball or the American Legion Oratorical Contests. Those are a few other programs sponsored by the American Legion. And we're grateful for their support, the way they support our program and work with our educators and students and delegates and parents in our communities. We're really grateful for their support. The other thing I want to mention about the 82-year legacy of Arkansas Boys State is special to Arkansas Boys State, our rich alumni base. You'll hear a lot of names dropped whenever you visit our website or talk to us in conversation, and that's intentional because we're proud of our alumni base. President Clinton, Governor Huckabee, Senator Tom Cotton, Arkansas Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Dan Kemp. Those are just a few names that come to the top of mind for me, and many, many others who are leading our state and nation in private and public industries that we are grateful to call Arkansas Boys State alumni, and will hopefully welcome your students into that alumni family as well here this summer. Speaking of your students, when they join us at Arkansas Boys State, they are split up into 8 different counties to begin their mock government experience and mock society experience. Those counties range anywhere from 40, 50 to 60 students. And that is kind of the group that they'll be in for the week, the friends they'll make, the lifelong relationships that they'll make, where they'll run for office and run against others for office as well. I mentioned that in 2014, I was in the Commanders County, as was my friend here, Tom Hamaker, on the call. We were both 2014 Arkansas Boys State alumni in the Commanders County. And you can see that we're still friends and working together today, which is a really, really special treat. These students are also separated into cities as well within their county. So there are 2 cities per county. And then from there, they are assigned one of 2 mock political parties as well. And as I mentioned, these parties, these cities, and these counties are the structures in which they operate during the week and run for office and campaign against and with one another. And it's a really exciting time. Each of these counties are led by a number of volunteer staff members with Arkansas Boys State who serve as the counselors. And then you have some folks like us as well who help run things behind the scenes. Maybe miss being with the delegates a little bit, but happy to make things run behind the scenes as well. There are a few things that we think are important in terms of what our delegates learn when they're at Arkansas Boys State. Number one, we want them to think critically about their views and learn how to communicate those views more effectively by the time they've left us during the summer. Alongside that, we want them to be thoughtful and be intentional about how they're leading others once they leave, especially in terms of benefiting their schools and their communities and creating change in those areas. Speaking of their schools and their communities, that civic, social, those political institutions, we want them to be engaged in those institutions when they leave Arkansas Boys State and be those lifelong leaders that, as I mentioned, some of those alumni that we've seen come to be and come to lead their communities and organizations in that way after Boys State. And then finally, and I think this is one of the most beneficial pieces of the experience that we would all attest to here, build really incredible life-changing relationships with people of different worldviews. That's a special part of the Arkansas Boys State Arkansas Boys State experience. While they're at Boys State, they also have the opportunity to participate in one of 4 schools of instructions around public administration, society and the arts, commerce, or public service and politics. And this really allows your students an opportunity to specialize in an area that's of interest to them. So yeah, we want them to run for office and campaign with each other and against each other, but we also want them to specialize in an area of interest and hear from experts in those fields that come and speak to them and lead them through simulations of what it means to run a municipal government, or what it means to run a community newspaper, or what it means to run a small business in your community. These are all exciting simulations and experiences that students participate in through their schools of instruction. Other areas of instruction that are beneficial to the delegate experience, of course, I've mentioned, they create a mock government from the ground up. So they elect school board or city council on day one. And then by the end of the program, they have elected their Arkansas Boys State governor, a much coveted position. But like I said, I also ran for state senate, was a state senator as a delegate, and that was a really meaningful experience as well. I also mentioned simulations that they'll do in their schools of instruction that are really meaningful, breakout sessions to hear from speakers across different industries and to hear from counselors and future mentors while they're there. Extracurriculars like esports, the football championship, the basketball championship, color guard, band, choir, debate, speech, you name it, all kinds of extracurriculars that, aside from these other great experiences your students experience while they're at Boise State. Meaningful speakers. In the past, we've heard from elected officials. We always have the governor of Arkansas at the time come speak. President Clinton spoke to our delegation in 2015. So lots of great varied speakers that your students will hear from. And then one of the most seminal pieces of the Arkansas Boise State experience as well is our leadership discussions. At the end of each day at Arkansas Boise State, delegates gather together with their county that I mentioned before and have discussions about what are the social and political issues that are impacting us and most relevant to us and shape how we view the world and how we treat others and how we become these lifelong leaders and engaged citizens. And those leadership discussions are always a highlight of the Boise State experience for sure. So that's a little bit about Arkansas Boise State. I'm going to toss it back to Lloyd, who is going to share with those of you here, educators, parents, whoever might be here, about why you should send students to Arkansas Boise State. Lloyd, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Caleb. Great job in presenting the different aspects of our program and what those young men get a chance to experience. And I will share with you all that on this call, I gave you a list of individuals who are with us, and our staff is about 75 strong, sum total. And these men have varied life experiences. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have operations managers of major plants. We have individuals who are in the tech industry. We have academia, folks who are working at the university level. And then the work I get a chance to do every day is in education. I was a math teacher, assistant principal of middle school, high school principal, deputy superintendent of the Hot Springs School District in Arkansas. And I get a chance now to serve as the assistant superintendent in Kansas City within the Kansas City Public Schools. And so I've been for the last 19 years involved in education. And there is no program that I've been involved with that creates an opportunity for leadership development, much like the Boise State program. And so if you want young men to come back to your campus to really own their own leadership story, this is an opportunity to do that. Those young men who are great on the fields of play, on the courts of play, who may be leading in that area, bring them into this experience. And again, we just take that leadership and move to the next level as they get a chance to convene with other like-minded young men who are leaders. And the same thing for those who may be academic leaders or those student leaders on your campus. Running the gamut, those young men who have the potential to lead, this is a great opportunity for them to be engaged and involved with some great leadership development with some men who carve out a week of their time just to volunteer to do this work. Many of them taking vacation to be in this space without pay. Again, volunteering. Some people that we want to just highlight this comes from our more recent folks. Caleb shared some of our rich alumni base. That's kind of our history, but here's history in the making, and it's exciting. As we look at Pablo, he was this past year's governor in 2022, and I get some goosebumps, and I'm going to get too emotional as he ran a very valiant race and was the first Latino to become governor of the Arkansas American Legion Boys State program. Pretty awesome story to share. And as he shared with his mom, who he spoke to his mom in Spanish once he got the notice that he was now the elected governor, the emotion he put on the table around these young men supporting him. Was just something to be shared and certainly something to be seen and certainly I'm in awe of. And then you have Jalen, who in 2021, we had to go virtual, but Jalen spent some time with us in that virtual program, a part of that experience in which even in virtual experience, those young men shared with us, it was an awesome experience because of the men who came together to make this program what it is. Jalen, you probably have seen him on the news across the country, but we take pride that he was one of our very own within the Arkansas American Legion Boys State, the youngest mayor in the country right now at 18 years old. And again, a product of Arkansas, rural Arkansas, doing some great things. We also want to highlight some other folks. We have Jeremy Hunt Jr., who was our 2019 Boise State governor. You can kind of see his words and what the impact it had on him. Again, a young man from the Delta, who came into this experience, got exposed to young men that he had not really engaged with in the past. And they had varying different views of life and politics, but managed to come together and have some real rich relationships formed from that. And these young men, both Pablo, Jeremy, they get a chance to choose one of three universities in the state of Arkansas who give our governor a full ride scholarship. Arkansas State University, Henderson State University, or University of Central Arkansas. If those young men decide to go to those particular schools, they get a full ride for the 4 years, or full tuition for the 4 years that they are on that campus. So there's some opportunities. And we look at Jeremy, he is a leader on that campus. We have Pablo, which this is news of the team. He's decided to also attend University of Central Arkansas. And so University of Central Arkansas is getting some rich leadership on their campus from the program, but also these young men are getting some opportunities to have some financial freedom through the scholarship opportunities there. And so as an educator, to another educator, I certainly encourage you to encourage as many young men as possible to get engaged with this program. And they don't know what they're doing or getting into when they get into Arkansas Boys State. And so them making the choice isn't going to be the best option. And so how do we push them and encourage them to make this something that they plan out for the week of May 28th through June 2 is important, as it's certainly a week that shapes a lifetime. I get to pitch it over to our Director of Operations, Mr. Craig Depew.
Thank you, Lloyd. Well, good afternoon. Again, thank you everyone for attending and taking your time out. I do promise we do webinars on non-snow days. So it was funny. We were just realizing last night that a year ago when we did this, it was on a snow day as well for a portion of the state. I know the entire state's not out, but up in Northwest Arkansas, where I live, most schools are out today on snow days. So, but just to kind of give a few updates, I'm originally from Farmington, Arkansas, and was a delegate back in 2001. And have since been lucky enough to volunteer on staff here and have continued to work with an amazing group. And then year after year, we get to see hundreds of amazing students come to our program in Conway at UCA. And we don't take it for granted. We know that you guys are the ones that are essentially helping us find the best and the brightest to bring and send. And so, again, that's why we thank you guys for the work that you do and helping us recruit for this program. Just some basics around this year's event will be May 28th through June 2nd, and which is it's a very typical time of year that we have Arkansas Boys State. It's the weekend prior to Memorial Day. So the students will come in on the 28th and then they'll depart on June the 2nd. And it again is at the University of Central Arkansas in Conway. So very centrally located throughout the state. And we're excited to be there again. It's our 41st year to be at UCA. So we're very familiar with the campus. It's a beautiful campus. We basically had the whole campus to ourselves. And so we have plenty of room and they've been a great partner for us with this program now for many years. Kind of going through next slide, Caleb, if we can, on the cost and value of that. And the overall cost for this program, $250. That's all inclusive and it covers everything for the whole week. Now, this is typically a sponsorship. I know when I went back in 2001, the local bank in Farmington sponsored me to attend. And so our partners at the American Legion, like Local Post, will often go and help you find those sponsorships. So I encourage you to reach out to them or ask who has sponsored historically students that have gone to your school if you're unaware. If you want to ask us, we'd be happy to help, share with you if we've got any sponsorship information from previous years at your school as well. But it's typically covered by a sponsor, a local organization. It could be a Kiwanis club, an Legion post, or even the schools. There are some situations where schools have budgets to send students. We'll, of course, accept it that way. And then it's a little bit more rare, but we will have students self-pay. And sometimes that's just the only way that it works out. And we understand that as well. So we do accept it that way. Housing is at UCA all 5 nights, all meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are included. Of course, it's all you can eat. It's cafeteria food, but there is a wide variety and they don't typically go hungry. We can promise you that. And then we also, you're getting t-shirts for the week. Materials, we've got a delegate handbook, everything that you do there that week is included. And that's all part of the value as well. And really, again, that cost goes to operate the entire program and it covers the fees and everything that we pay to the university and so forth, just to operate the program on campus. And so really beyond that, I think that covers my part. I think from here, I'm going to kick it over to Tom to kind of cover some registration aspects as we're kicking that off. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I am Tom Hamaker, and again, I'm our office manager. I am originally a 2014 alumni of the program and enjoyed it and loved my time there in 2014 with Caleb. I also am a Hampton High School alum, so another one of our students who came from a relatively small school and a small community and really got to experience a really diverse environment. Got to meet a lot of people that I would have never met otherwise and had, truly for me, a life-changing experience. What I want to do for you today is really take you through the registration process. And this is probably the part of the program that we get the most questions on throughout the next couple of months. And that's okay. Hey, we want to be here for you and we want to guide you through it. I'm going to really present to you a couple of things about the program and about our registration process that I think will be particularly helpful to you. And I'll also talk about, the timeline for that, what the process looks like this year, and some resources for you as you navigate that. First, I want to tell you about the timeline. So registration launched, and really not launched is launched past tense. It's open now. It launched today. So if you went to our website right now, you'd be able to, there's a large register button. You'd be able to find that, and you could register a student as early today and nominate them to attend Arkansas Boys State. In addition, you could also today have register themselves and complete their portion of the registration process. And today you could go ahead and process payment for that student. All of that open today. The full process has launched. The deadline for the registration piece, and that's both registrations, both you nominating the student and the student completing their portion of registration. Those two deadlines are together on April 7th. Both of those pieces needed to be completed by April 7th. Then lastly, on the timeline piece of this, the payment portion, the last portion, needs to be received by May 5th. So that portion needs to be processed on May 5th. And you can do that in multiple ways. I'll tell you about in just a second. But that can be done via check or online. So if you do end up scrambling there, you could probably get that done in as little as an hour or less for the payment, probably 10 minutes. So that's the process. Again, probably the most important dates for you to know: that April 7th day for the deadline to register, and then the May 5th day for the deadline to pay. Okay. I'd also like to give you, particularly on the payment piece, a partner in this that can be extremely helpful to you, and that is your local American Legion Post. I know we talked about this earlier, that Craig walked you through that there's local businesses that frequently help with the cost of attendance for the delegates. Maybe it's your American Legion Post that you can partner with. And I would say in a lot of cases throughout the state of Arkansas, there are strong American Legion posts who, one, not only can step in and provide sponsorship for your delegates, but also can really be your partner throughout the process. For several of our young men, they are invited to come speak before the program and then again after the program at their local American Legion post. And they can really be a partner for you to help navigate and help your students navigate attending Boys State. If you have an existing relationship with the American Legion in your area, that is amazing, and I'm happy for you. I would probably go ahead and now, if you haven't already, I would reach out to that post and I would start talking to them about the 2023 Boys State program and about how you can partner with them again this year. If you don't have a relationship with your local American Legion post, Caleb posted a link in the chat to our Legion page of the website. And at the bottom of that page, there's a map to all of the American Legion posts in the state of Arkansas. But in addition, reach out to us. If you send us an email or give us a phone call, we would be more than happy to help connect you with an American Legion contact in your area. And again, we will do everything we can to put you in touch with them and help you partner with your local Legion post. Lastly, if we can navigate to the next slide, here we go. We've got the process map for registration. I would say that while the process, if you're looking at the exact form, that probably looks a little different than last year. You'll see a different link that you'll go to, a different site and form layout that you'll see when you do that. But the process remains remarkably similar to prior years. That process starts with you as early as today, nominating your students. And this year, you'll, again, obviously nominate at least one primary student This year, we're also asking that you nominate at least one alternate student. And again, you'll do that. It's a relatively simple registration form. As you go in and nominate, you'll need some basic information about your school size, and about how many delegates you wish to nominate. And then you'll need some information about those delegates, about their email address, their phone number, and then also a parental contact. And that's it. If you've got that information ready, again, you can nominate your students as early as today. I'll cover the student part of this first. After you do that for your student, here's what they'll get. And this is as we're kind of descending down the bottom left of this chart. Your student will receive a welcome email that will provide them with their delegate ID number, and it will give them instructions about how they can register for the program. The next step, after they receive that email, they will complete their portion of the registration process. And again, that must be done no later than April 7th. And that's a relatively short form that I think will take them probably 10 or 15 minutes to fill out. It goes through, and before they fill that out, and we'll provide this information also via email to them, they'll need, again, basic information about themselves, about their T-shirt size so we can give them a shirt at Boise State, parental contact information, medical information about them, like if they have any needs that we need to accommodate, and some other basic information about them that we'll collect during their registration piece. And then after that, their portion of the registration process is done. For them, it's really one step. They'll get an email, they'll follow that link, they'll complete a short form, and then they are done. That's all they need to do before the program. We typically invite them to attend a webinar closer towards the program as well, but the part that they really need to do is that registration piece. Okay, now the school piece, and this is now continuing left to right along the top part of this chart. After you complete the nomination process, and again, you can do that anytime between now and April 7th, you will receive an email yourself confirming the information that you gave us in the form. And it'll essentially say, hey, we've received your registration. It'll have an invoice attached that I'll talk to you about what to do with in just a second. And that email will really summarize the next steps for the school and for you during this process. One particularly important piece is that invoice that will be attached. That invoice will contain the name of each delegate that you nominated, primary delegate, and it'll contain that delegate's delegate ID number. As you use those two pieces of information, in particular the delegate ID number that is on the invoice, will be useful for you as you navigate the payment piece. And then that's the last step for you in this process on the far top right. The last piece for you is that you'll go submit the payment for that delegate. And as you submit that, again, that'll be a short form. It will include, the name of the delegate that you are paying for, or delegates plural, and you'll also be asked to enter that delegate ID number from the invoice. You'll do that. The payment form will have you submit payment online using a credit card, and you can submit that, and that's one option for how you can pay. And again, you can do that up to May 5th. The second option for you is that you can take that invoice and you can mail that invoice along with a check from your school district or from your sponsor, and you can mail that in. The email that you'll receive in the confirmation will also include details about who to make the check to and where to send that check once you've got it. So, okay, you've got those two options. That'll be the third piece that you need to do. And again, in either case, that invoice, including the delegate ID number, that will be crucial to you as you navigate that process. I do want to mention that if you or your school district are not the one who will be paying for that delegate, whoever is paying for that delegate, they will still need that delegate ID number. So one option, let's say that you have an American Legion post or a local business that will be sponsoring your delegate, please forward them that confirmation email and direct their attention to, in particular, that invoice, so that as they're completing payment, they'll have that information with them to complete the payment process. Or if parents individually, if you're one of the schools for whom really to make it work, the parents pay individually, again, you'll need to make sure, and the delegate will have received their delegate ID number, but you'll also need to make sure that the parent completing payment, they have the delegate ID number for their child, for their son. Okay, so that's the process, really high level overview. Again, it starts with a nomination form of you nominating your delegate. Then for you, you'll receive a confirmation email. You or a sponsor will complete the payment process, and again, need that delegate ID number as you do that. And then after you do that, your portion of the registration process is also complete. I do want to have one more caution for you, and this is on the nomination piece. As you are nominating the delegate, as you are completing the very first form we will ask you to fill out, please, one, use the delegate's personal email address. In previous years, if possible. In previous years, we have ran into issues with a school firewall or a school filter preventing the delegate from receiving our emails. And really, we want to try to navigate away from that. And so if possible, please use the delegate's personal email address, or in worst case scenario, if you really need to use the school email address, maybe coordinate and make sure that our emails wouldn't be blocked by a firewall. So that's one common issue that we see. Secondly, as you are nominating those delegates, please use a unique email address for each delegate. And I think this one you probably won't have any trouble with, particularly if you're using their personal email address. Use a separate and distinct email address for each of the delegates. We don't typically run into that as a problem, but I did want to enforce that this year in particular because that using that unique email address is one of the things that will ensure that you get an accurate invoice back in the second step of the process. So just those two watchouts for you as you complete the first step. Make sure to use a personal email address for your delegate and also make sure that that email address is unique. Okay, with that, I'm sure that we'll have some questions about this either today or throughout the process. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help, and I wish you luck as you navigate that. That's all for me, and I'll toss it back over to another member of our staff.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. We've done some work in the off season here to help make that registration process a bit easier, more user-friendly, and automated. So hopefully that benefits those of you going through this process. And of course, as Tom mentioned, if you run into questions or headaches along the way, the best way to reach us is that email on your screen, info@arboystate.org. We have received some questions in the chat. So I'm going to go down the list of these questions and answer them or toss them to members of our staff who could answer them more appropriately than I could. If you have any other questions that have come up, please drop those in the chat and we will capture those as well. By the way, we'll also share out a recording of this, some additional resources and some of these Q&As and an email tomorrow as a follow-up to this webinar as well. Sarah wants to know how many boys attend Arkansas Boys State. On average, for the past couple of years, we've had anywhere from 500 to 600, a little fewer than that in our virtual year, attend Arkansas Boys State. In the last 25 years, though, we've seen as many as 600 to even 1,200 students on the campus of UCA in Conway, and certainly would love to see our numbers get back up to that 1,200 point. I know that's a goal for all of us and wanting to maximize our reach for Arkansas students. Dory wants to know, what is the maximum number of students that you can nominate to attend Arkansas Boys State? We do not set a limit on how many students you can nominate to attend Arkansas Boys State. If you have the funding and the resources to send every eligible student to Arkansas Boys State, we will accept them and we will make sure they have a life-changing experience at Arkansas Boys State. So no limit, just as many as you can secure funding for. If you are unsure on where to start, and if you're looking for a number, we recommend 10% of your eligible student population. So of your current high school male juniors, we recommend 10% of that population. Of course, you're welcome to send more. Let's see, what next? James wants to know, are there slots for JROTC separate from the high school slots? Great question, James, and thanks for joining us. I will do my best to answer this, but then I'll also let another member of our staff hop in if I've missed anything or if I've misspoken. No, there's definitely not a distinction in the slots between, someone nominated by their high school counselor or someone nominated by their high school JROTC coordinator, whatever role you might play. My advice would be to connect with your high school counselor or high school principal there in your district and put your heads together on who you're nominating and make sure that you're not either double dipping or making sure that your efforts are joined together. But no, there's not a designated number of slots for each. Anyone from Arkansas Boys State staff want to add anything to that? Did I capture that well?
I will. We encourage it. There isn't a difference in between the two, but we definitely encourage it. And as they're filling out that information about themselves, they can designate that so that we know. Because we do perform ceremonies, we as far as flag raising every morning, taking the flag down in the afternoons, ceremonies in auditoriums. So we do encourage our JROTC programs to send some of their students as well, but definitely encourage getting with the other administration in the school so that you all can be on the same page as well. We have a lot of opportunities for them to be used, so we definitely would encourage you to send those guys up here.
And Caleb, I'll just add on. I think as you're navigating this process, one of the questions that we get frequently is, how do we select who comes to Boise State? How do we handle that internally as a school staff? This is one way to do that I think is incredibly valuable. Reach out to your school staff from disparate areas. Reach out if your school has a JROTC program. Reach out to the person who coordinates that. Reach out to your school's coaching staff. Reach out to different teachers in your school and really ask them to nominate students. Don't wait for the student to express interest. Reach out to people who may see in that student, hey, I see them in this capacity in this extracurricular activity. I see them in this capacity in the classroom, and I think that they would benefit from attending Boise State. And really in doing that and navigating the process that way, again, you'll come together with a pot of students at the end and say, okay, these students may come from GROTC or may have been nominated by their history teacher. And at the end, the school will get together and typically nominate those students together as representatives from their school. And again, reaching out to those different groups on campus at your school helps you have a representative population, but also helps you send as many students as possible to Boise State who might get value out of it.
And I'd also like to add another scenario and an opportunity to get young men and women engaged in the program for the Girl State program and the Boy State program. I am originally from Texarkana. I'm an Arkansas high school Razorback. And so I got a chance to come from Texarkana as a delegate to the Boy State program. And then I was a high school principal in Hot Springs. And in both of those campuses, it was an honor to get a chance to go to Boy State, in which the young men didn't make selection for it. Every young man who had above a 2.5 GPA had no behavior issues. And we saw it with leadership potential. We put on a nomination form to send out to our staff. And so that list could be pretty long of young men. We got a chance to send 8 young men to Boise State because of funding. And so they got a chance to select 8 young men off that list and went through 2 ballots. And then at the end of that, we took the top 16, and then those top 16, we voted for 8 to send with 2 alternates. So then we just made the announcement. Here are the young men who were selected to go to Boise State from Hot Springs High School or Texarkana, Arkansas High School. And it became an honor. And those alternates then got a chance to pick up and do some things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom, Lloyd, and Devontae for answering that question. Lloyd, since you were most recently speaking, I have a few questions here that I think you could answer for us. In particular, we've got 2 questions that are similar. One from Tara and one from Malia. What is the age limit, incoming juniors, current juniors for homeschoolers, or outgoing juniors accepted? And then a similar question, do you accept those who are closer to junior status? For example, a student who is a few credits shy of their junior year.
So you actually have to be complete with your junior year going into your senior year. So this is the summer of your senior year before you go into your senior year. So you should have completed your junior year, and we're going into and have at least a semester left. And so those early graduates who are graduating in May, who are currently juniors, they missed this opportunity, unfortunately, because you had to have at least 1 semester remaining in your high school career or time. And so you have to be completed with your junior year or completing this junior year the summer before your senior year and have at least 1 semester remaining in that particular world.
Thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate that. There was a mention in one of those questions about homeschool students, and we have another homeschool question as well, Craig, that I think you can best answer. Marcy says, I'm a homeschool mom of a junior boy. Do I nominate him as his educator, or do we need a mentor to nominate him?
Yeah, great question. And thank you, Marcy, for asking it. It's typically better for a mentor or someone related to the homeschool organization that's not a direct family member to nominate. It just helps eliminate any kind of speculation or whatever you want to call it on a parent nominating their kid. However, we don't want them to be missed if for some reason that doesn't happen. So the short answer is yes, it would be better for it to be someone else in the organization. But if you need to do it because there isn't anyone else, we've had that before with homeschool groups. Please do it. We don't want to lose the student, and we'll process it accordingly. So, a great question.
Absolutely, thank you, Craig. And then Lloyd. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Just wanted to offer one more situation there, right? That the Legion Post could also step in and nominate in that instance. You could have, if there's no one available in the homeschool organization, we also have a handful of students who are directly nominated by their Legion Post. We don't take offense to that at all either. That's another option.
And I will add too that when you get to the nomination form and the registration process, and you click on the drop down to select the school name, and you'll see the instructions underneath this there as well. But if you are nominating from a school that is perhaps not on that list or is for a homeschool student, you can click other, and then there will be a box that opens up where you can write in homeschool, or if there's a homeschool association or something that you're affiliated with, you can fill that in there. Lloyd, another question for you that I think you'll be able to best answer. Is there any scholarship or fee waiver for economically disadvantaged students?
Great question. And here's the stance I'll take, or I won't say stance, the angle I will take with that is that's one of the major reasons why we ask for sponsorships, so that young men aren't paying for themselves and families aren't having to take on this cost of this program at all. And so the real purpose behind us reaching out to get schools to go out and get those particular sponsors to sponsor this, or the American Legion Post to that sponsorship, so it doesn't become a financial burden. But if we get into a space where the school can't necessarily fundraise and there are not opportunities for other ways to get the money for that particular man to attend, we don't want the fee to be the barrier at all. And so we have opportunities where we can scholarship. We have some dollars set aside with those extreme circumstances where we can do some scholarshiping if we need to. But the hope is that the schools will do what they can to not put this burden on young men and those families at all, but that becomes a part of that sponsorship through the community organizations, through banks, through those philanthropic organizations, or through the American Legion Post.
Thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate that. There's a couple questions, couple comments in here about recruiting students, videos for students to check out what Arkansas Boys State is all about. My best advice would be, it would be hard to choose just one video. So my best advice would be to visit our YouTube channel, which is linked on our website. There are 50, 60 some odd videos there, and a lot from our most recent session in 2023, day-to-day glimpses at Arkansas Boys State, interviews with the students who were there, clips of our recreation and athletics times, all kinds of different video content on our YouTube channel showcasing the Arkansas Boys State experience. I mentioned that I will follow up after this webinar with an email to everyone about some resources, and I will certainly, thank you, Craig. I'll include the link to the YouTube channel there as well, and some additional recruitment resources as well. There is one final question or comment here that I have on our list. Craig, do you want to speak to this about the payment suggestion?
Yes. Yeah, it was just something that came up earlier as we were as Tom walked us through the registration process. As a school, and we want you to send multiple students. So the more you can get to send to us that are qualified, the better. If you need to gather all that up as far as the funds go and want to submit one payment, we certainly encourage that as well. So definitely don't feel like you have to submit individual payments, or the moment you get one in, you got to submit a payment for them. That's okay. As long as you're letting us know, or as long as you're working through getting one payment together to process all of them at once, that's fine as well. I think that covers the majority of it. But Tom, is there anything, you're closer to this than I am, is there anything else that would help our group know how to do this?
No, I would say, again, the two big pieces that I would encourage. One, if you're paying by check or if you're paying online, again, making sure that we understand who that delegate is. And again, the delegate ID number helps track that, including that invoice that's what that helps track that. But two, certainly if you have any trouble navigating that, if for whatever reason you're struggling to get the payment in by the deadline, the communication is critical. If you can certainly reach out to us and explain your situation to us, and we'll do our best to help. You'll also probably get some reminders from us throughout the process of, hey, we'll try to keep you aware of your payment status. We won't let the deadline come and go without letting you know, hey, we haven't received a payment from you. We'll really try to be proactive in the communication piece of it and working with you on that. And I just encourage you to return that for us and be proactive in the communication. We'll certainly make it work, right? We've made it work in years prior.
Well said, Tom. Thank you. And certainly this is not the only opportunity to ask us questions along the way, whether that's about the registration process or recruitment or programming, whatever it might be. Said you can always reach us at info@arboystate.org. Our website has lots of great resources on it as well, including links out to our social media that has lots of great content from our past couple of sessions as well. So don't hesitate to reach back out if you have any questions that come up during this process. Lloyd, would you mind giving us a few parting thoughts and closing us out here for the day?
Don't mind at all. I just want to say thank you for those who are still remaining on the call, and certainly those who joined us. I want to say a great appreciation to the staff. These men, again, are doing all of this work for free and doing a great job as we plan out registration, putting together these pieces in order for this program to really rock and roll. So I'm excited about 2023 and what we have an opportunity to do with this program. And just know I have a personal goal of us hitting 600 delegates, and I need your help to do that because we want our reach to be far and wide and to continue to impact the leadership of the great state of Arkansas. And so I'm excited. And if you have questions, as they said already, feel free to reach out. We're just a phone call, email, and in some cases, text message away.
Thank you, Lloyd. And thank y'all for attending today. Be on the lookout for that follow-up email and look forward to seeing your school and your students represented at Arkansas Boys State 2023. Thank you for joining.